Alright guys, welcome back to day 2 of the overdress update over here on the channel. I want to say thank you very much for the support for yesterday's video. It was kind of like our first step for a more news or update centric upload as opposed to deck profiles. And obviously the support has been immense, so I want to say thank you very much first. And you know what, let's dive straight into today's updates. So first of all, we've got the new boss monsters as well as their names and nations for the starter decks, so we'll be able to start moving up from there a little bit. So we're going to be starting with our main character, Yu, who will be playing the Chakrabarti Divine Dragon Nirvana, which obviously will be included in the starter deck 01, the Dragon Empire one. We're going to have Apex Creator Bastion for starter deck 3, which is obviously the Kita Sanctuary variant. We're going to have the Diablos Violence Bruce for Dark States, or starter deck number 2. Obviously, all these coming out on May 14th, followed up by Sylvian Horned Beast King Magnolia for starter deck 4 for Stoichia, as well as for starter deck 5 Brand Gate, we're going to have the Aurora Battle Princess Seraph White. Now, as for myself, I'll be picking all of those starter decks up because at the low price of $3.99, I think it's basically a steal because you can get everything for under 20 bucks. And speaking of starter decks, as of right now, you can find all these starter decks in the description, in the link to our sponsor, Golden Phoenix Games. Make sure to check them out if you are looking to get started with overdress, and make sure to use code EKO at checkout to help support both the stream and the channel. So thank you in advance to everybody, and let's get going moving forward. So moving on, we've also got a bit more information about Yu. So we've got his voice actor, as well as we probably got a bit more information. I think he's probably designed by the same guy who drew Riviere. And I think he's missing going abroad a little bit, because I think I can probably land a plane between those eyes. But moving on, we're seeing an opening to a trend I don't know how I feel about, but I'm kind of okay with it. I'll give them a pass this time, because we've got his Trickstar, which is like the new mascot. I'm not sure if it's a grade 1 or grade 0. It's giving a bit of Chronodran vibes, so we'll see what happens with that going forward. And we're going to have his boss unit, whose name we don't actually know, but what we do know is that will actually be included in the first booster box. So you'll have the starter in the starter deck, and the main unit in the booster box. Now, as I was saying yesterday, I love this unit design. I think it looks absolutely incredible, and I like the fact that it feels like a mix of like a Dragon and Victor, like maybe like a Narukami Victor variant, that I'm really loving so far, and I'm really interested in seeing how that plays, because I know there has been a lot of concern about overdress and a lot of hype, but I think in a later video, probably record over the next couple of days once my thoughts kind of settle down a little bit, because at the moment I'm still running off of hype. Once all that settles down a bit, I think I'll feel a little more comfortable. I'll probably sit down and record a video just like sharing our thoughts, concerns, and kind of general hype and aspiration towards both the future and the channel, the future of the series as a whole. And moving on, we've got our 6th nation, Lyrical Monasterio. Now this is coming soon, and this actually nation, according to our product schedule, is going to be getting its own trial deck. And the reason that wording is interesting is because so far everything has been called a start deck, so it'll be interesting to see how they differentiate the two products and what they do with it going forward. And speaking of, this is also going to be the home of Bermuda, in its rightful place being carried atop a whale. And this is also interesting enough going to be a bit of a special nation, because we have no concrete confirmation, but Bermuda and all of its accompanying like collaboration clans, so be it. Well, what we're hoping will get ported into is Bang Dream, Token Ranbu. Surprisingly enough, Token Ranbu also coming back with a brand new booster box, which we are very surprised about. I even lost a bet to Nitro Player, or Elemental Saber Nicholas, over on my Discord, by stating this, quote, "This is never coming back," so I guess I owe him something now. And following up with that, it's probably going to be also where the Monster Strike collaboration comes, which is going to, I believe, get its own 2 trial decks and booster box. So we'll see how that moves on. I think that's coming out in August in Japan, so I think it's interesting to see if it comes over to the West, and if so, when. But I actually think it's quite nice that we finally have a place for them all. Although I think it'd be interesting to see how all these collaboration clans interact with each other. Since as this is now nation-based, they're all going to be able to be played in the same deck. And I think it's going to be super interesting to see how that ports over going forward, or if there's going to be any restrictions on that, since we don't know how the nation functions just yet. And moving on, we've got a bit of a Q&A section that we have to answer. So a lot of questions being raised about things like the Rai deck. And finally, Bushiro did reach out to us and help us clarify a lot of these rulings. So the first question asking, does the Rai deck add up to the total deck? Or the number of cards total does have to be 50. So they explained the way the Rai deck is actually going to work is you're going to have your deck of 50 cards, and then you're going to pull 4 out of it, so grade 0, 1, 2, and 3, and put them to the side. And then this is going to be your ride deck. Just a quick reminder, the way the ride deck is going to work, it is a standard-only product, so no premium or premium, or V-premium, I guess. Neither of those is going to be, it's going to have the ride deck. It's going to be a standard or overdress format only. And effectively, the way your start is going to go, because you might think, okay, if I have a grade 0 there, what's the point of having it there if it's going to be my starter? Well, in the beginning, you'll separate the 4, and then you'll take the top card and put it on your Vanguard, and that's going to be your grade 0 that you're going to start the game with. So as it starts off as part of the main deck, that main deck cannot be more than 50 cards. So when you move it, yes, your deck will go down to 46 cards, but in total, that's just how the deck is going to function. Also, master copies of the same card in the main deck and the ride deck add up to 4. So since your deck can only have up to 4 copies of each card, and your ride deck would start off, when you bring it in, will be part of your 50 card deck, so you would have to have 40 total. So if you have 1 in your ride deck, you can only have 3 in your main deck. They have to add up to a total of 4 copies. And finally, why can you not put, or can you put multiple of the same grade into the ride deck? So strictly speaking, no, or no, just strictly no. You can only put 1 grade 0, 1, 2, and 3. Because like we were saying earlier, you start with your grade 1, and then you have your grade 0, then you have your 1, 2, and 3. On the off chance that you misride, you can G-assist. No, also, Dr. O did clarify, you can G-assist still, but as he said, there really are no benefits to doing so. Because instead of revealing your hand and checking top 5, you can discard a card and ride a card of your choice from the ride deck. So you can do it, so it's not banned. It's just ill-advised because there are absolutely no merits to doing so. Moving on, we were also asking if the ride deck is allowed in V Premium or Premium. So no, it is an overdress format only, so standard only mechanic. Premium and Vremium are both still not allowed to have a ride deck, so that functions as we know the game now. Also, do you have to use separate sleeves for the deck and ride deck, or do you use the same sleeve? So the sleeves for the ride deck and main deck must be different. But there's no problem if the ride deck has 4 different sleeves. Like you can effectively have 5 different sleeve types now in your deck, because you have the 4 in your ride deck. They can all be different because it doesn't matter, but the ones in your deck have to be different to any of those in the ride deck. So question, for cards that are placed within the ride deck, what happens if they have to be placed in another area? So the reply we got is if it has to be placed in the main deck, it goes back to the ride deck, likely due to the fact that you have different sleeves. Which implies to me we might get another mechanic, maybe similar to, say, Chronos Command in Premium, which allows you to take units and put them back into the deck. Because I guess I don't want you to cheat, so obviously if it has a different sleeve, you'll be able to tell when it's coming. And obviously also with your opponent, so your deck goes to the right deck instead. But for anything else, it goes where it's supposed to. So if it goes to Vanguard, it stays in Vanguard, Rear Guard, Drop Zone, removed from game is removed from game. If it goes back in the deck, it actually goes back to your right deck. And finally, as for new rules, you have to use different sleeves for the main deck and ride deck. Quick Shield is no longer usable because the starter no longer has that skill. So the player going second will draw a card by the ability to Sonic Vanguard. So we're kind of getting a similar mechanic to 0. So surprisingly, 0 solves the problem here. So you draw a card as starter if you go first, but if you go second, you ride, and then you draw off the starter, because I believe the starter will probably say something like, if you're going second, draw a card. And an imaginary gift can no longer be used, and grade 3s will get a new ability, which we saw being referred to as Persona Ride. We're not sure if that's going to be the mechanic for everything, or maybe it's just some clans. We're not sure how that functions yet. Obviously, I will update you guys when we do know. And cards with D icons can be played in clan decks that correspond to their nation. So effectively, I can't play new Batama cards in Dragon Empire, because of course, no cross-pollination across the formats, but think of them all in the same way that you would have done Nation Strides. So, if it's a Dragon Empire card, it can be played in all Dragon Empire decks. So in a sense, even clan-specific support is generic support, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the overdress cards actually transfer over to Premium. But given our new game designer, I have hope in him, I believe in them, and hopefully we're going to get incredible interactions, because they did also come out and say that they apologize and they hope that with this new direction that they're taking the game in, they should hopefully not repeat the mistakes of the past and find themselves in another reboot. So Kidani actually came out during the Tuesday stream, which is very unusual, and effectively tried to get as close to possible as promising to us that this is likely going to be the last reboot. But you know what? I believe in them. I think we're going to go forward, stay optimistic, really. And yeah, we're going to see what happens going forward. Also, moving on, we finally have the finished, or somewhat up-to-date, product schedule. So at the moment, if I'm understanding this correctly, do correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, please. So January, February, we've got the 2 client selections. On March 25th, we're getting the 3 first starter decks. So this is JP, of course. As for global, we'll find out later on. We're not quite sure what the schedule is yet. I'll probably get in a couple of days when we get the English stream. Here's hoping. I'll keep you guys, of course, updated if we get any new news there, as well as I'll update you with the Western release dates. On April 3rd, we're going to get trial decks 4 and 5. So this is Stokia and Brandgate. Followed up 2 weeks later with GBT or DBT 01. I believe it's Genesis of the 5 Greats, which is the English name, which, off topic, is a really cool name, I think. On May 15th, we're getting Festival Collection 2021. So it's going to be a reprint set, almost immediately into D format, which I think is going to be really cool. And I think it's a nice way to basically let people catch up and make sure that if they hadn't picked up the starter decks yet, it might introduce some new cards, which I think will be cool. And we'll have to see a bit more about the product, because it'll be interesting how much they're going to reprint from one set. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm staying optimistic. As well as followed up a week after that with the brand new 2nd in the West, 3rd in Japan Token Rambu set, assuming we get it. I'm assuming that we will. Otherwise, we might find ourselves catching up a little bit. But we'll see. We'll discuss that in the future. On June 19th, we're going to get Booster Set 2, I believe. In July, we're going to be getting the Monster Strike collab, which I think is, like I say, includes 2 trial decks, or 2 trial decks in a booster box, but I can't remember on that. I'm going to have to double check for you guys. As well as in August, if I'm understanding this correctly, we should be getting a trial deck 6, so for Lyrical Monasterio, as well as booster box 3. And somewhere between June and August, we should get our V special set, or V selection, as it were, or V collection, which is going to be a set kind of like Premium Collection, but for V era. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Hopefully we're going to keep getting like our G retrains, because realistically, we might start covering either that or the ground between it and the new standard, but we'll kind of have to see where that goes going forward. So far at the moment, that's pretty much everything we've got at the moment. Main changes, just to recap, is we know the monsters that the Vanguards that our main characters are going to use. We know the release schedule, at least for Japan. We'll know the the Western one, hopefully within a couple of days. Obviously, I'll keep you guys posted. We know that there is now a 6th nation that's going to include collabs. We know the new collabs. And yeah, so I want to say again, thank you guys for watching once again. If you are interested in picking up these trial decks, make sure to check our sponsor Golden Phoenix Games in the link below and use code EKO at checkout to help support us. So thanks for watching. Stay safe. Take care. We'll get a new update out to you guys over the next couple of days when we get the Western stream. So yeah, see you guys tomorrow.